Hello Keiryu Nation, this is David with Keiryu Rod Company, and today I'm going to walk you through the do's and don'ts of opening your rod and collapsing your rod. And I'm going to start today with collapsing your rod because that's where most of the problems arise. So let's get started. Okay, let's talk about collapsing your rod, the do's and don'ts. So first off, I recommend that you put the rod under your left armpit if you're right-handed. Take your left hand and steady the rod. Place your thumb and index finger at the top of piece number 1. That's the section with the handle. And first thing to note is you're always going to collapse the rod starting with piece number 1. You're never going to collapse the rod starting at the end, at the tip of the rod. That will definitely lead to problems. You always are collapsing everything into section number 1. And what you're going to do is you want to keep your left hand always on piece number 1 here at the mouth, and use your right hand to just help your hand squeeze in each section. And you will feel resistance, and you'll just kind of squeeze the rod through that resistance. And once that happens, you can move your right hand forward, grab the rod, and just start to glide it in. And you're going to do that until you hear a sound, a clicking sound, which is that right there, which tells you you've reached the resistance of the next piece. So again, using your right hand close to your left hand, just kind of squeeze that piece in until you pass the resistance, and then go ahead and glide the section in. So you hear the click again, and then just repeat. So you're going to do this till you get to the end. And I want to wait to the end to show you what not to do, because that's where a breakage can happen. So here we are. We've come to basically the second to last piece, and this piece right here is the tip with the lilian. If over the course of collapsing your rod, you move your left hand forward beyond section 1 and grab the section in front of it, and then grab the piece and try to collapse it, this is where problems happen, especially towards the end. So if I grab this piece and I grab the lilian piece and I try to collapse it like this, I am exerting a lot of pressure, a lot of sideways pressure on this piece right here, and I can get a breakage. On this piece, I can also get a breakage on the lilian piece. So you never want to do that. That hand needs to be here, not here. Never forward of piece 1, always on piece 1 till you hear that click. And because this is the last section, usually I will always tip the rod over and just let it fall into the rod. And if it doesn't, just give it a little push, and there it goes. Then the final recommendation here is always to put a plug on the rod securely, snugly. If you can't find your plug, try not to leave your rod without some sort of plug in there. Bad things can happen. If you put your rod in a backpack or leaning against a rock and it falls over, or you pick it up and you forget that it doesn't have a plug, the pieces can come out and they can break. So you never want to do that. Improvise if you have to. If you have any foam winders, you can simply cut a triangle piece and just kind of squeeze that in, and it makes an excellent temporary rod plug. So now let's talk about extending the rod. The first step obviously is to remove the plug. I usually put my index finger on the tip and I point the rod pointed straight down, and I just let my finger move to the side so that the pieces can slide out, and usually the lilian will slide right out. If it doesn't, I tap the rod or I point the rod further down. So once that lilian piece comes out, you just grab it with your right hand and you extend that piece. Use your left hand to glide the piece through your index finger and your thumb, extend it out until you feel the next piece coming out. At this point, using your left hand, you're going to grab that piece that's coming out, you're going to hold it, and you're just going to tug the piece ahead of it. What you don't want to do is over tighten these pieces. We want these pieces to be snug. We don't want them to be super tight. So you move on to the next piece. You can feel the piece before, the bigger piece coming. You grab it. You just give it a tug. Piece after that, just give it a tug. If you over tighten these pieces right now, over the course of fishing and catching a fish, the pressures, the tugging, the exertion that'll happen on the rod, you might get a stuck piece. So avoid that by just making sure that these pieces are snug and not over tightened. And then my final tip is, once you fully extended the rod, look above and look behind you and make sure there's no trees, and then cast away. Thanks everyone for watching the video. Hopefully those tips are helpful to prevent any issues when you're opening and closing your rod. As always, if you have any questions regarding Keiryu Fishing, or our products, just email us, give us a call, we'll call you back. In the meantime, if you haven't tried Keiryu Fishing, give it a try and have fun. Please like and subscribe, and we'll continue to make more videos. Thank you.